Well, we really appreciate you still scrambling to make it happen and jumping in.
I wouldn't have missed it for the world. I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
Thanks so much.
So
Man Bashir is here in the flesh.
we were just talking about, Cirroc was talking about how we get introduced pretty quickly as to what kind of episode this is going to be.
Yeah.
And you say, well, what did he say? I already forgot what he said.
They said, what's your name right away? What's your name? And you say, Bashir, Julian.
Oh, that's
Bashir.
right. He didn't have a nickname.
Yeah.
And we go,
Bashir.
well, I get it.
Julian Bashir. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and there were a couple of assistants that you had in this episode that were really beautiful people.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember their names, Cirroc?
Yeah, one was Mona Loves It. Is that right?
And Come On and Off.
Yes. Love it. I love it too.
Cirroc loves it.
Cirroc loves
it. Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't any attempt to try and be like subtle in this show. It was just a huge fun fest. It was one of the big marquee shows of the season in terms of budget. And I remember the director going, "We're spending all the money for Deep Space Nine on this show, so don't know."
And so a lot of it went to the set was kind of really amazing. All the details. Love the rotating bar / bedroom.
Oh yeah.
Anybody could use one of those.
It's the thing about one of the things about Star Trek, and it came in the Next Generation, and it started particularly with this wonderful character called Q, was the holosuite, and what you could. The holographic, the other dimension in which you could explore your fantasies and ideas and thoughts in a place that was not physical. And I think that was one of the things that I loved enormously about Star Trek is, and there's this whole other place where you could just live out your fantasies. And this was fantasy for sure.
So when you first saw the script, was that your first thought that you say, wow, I get to do something totally different? Obviously, they have to put it within the Star Trek world and say all kinds of doodads about, well, their memories or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or their files are stuck here. But the point is, you guys get to play in 1960s James Bond era stuff. Did they warn you ahead of time, or did you just see the script and get excited for it?
Just saw the script and got supremely excited. For those who don't really know Bashir was the guy who never really succeeded at anything social. He could not pull it off, whether it was a love life or he just had real problems in that area. And this was a chance for him to do the thing and be the guy and get the girl and do that. And it's just so perfect.
Yeah. That's what I liked about it. And of course, everybody dreams of being James Bond. As we watch the movies, we all put ourselves in the role. It's kind of like watching a Bruce Lee movie and coming out of the theater fighting and thinking you can karate kick somebody. But James Bond has been like that person who's so smooth and so calm under pressure.
Yeah.
And I think you just pulled it off remarkably well. I loved your performance in this episode.
Thank you. I was lucky. Great script, limitless budget.
Wow.
The first Arab or Indian-looking James Bond, and probably the last ever. So we got.
I don't know. I don't know, but I definitely think you pulled it off. And one of the things that played well in this episode was your relationship and your chemistry with Andy Robinson.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys played so well off of each other. And I thought that one of the central themes of this episode, which is the fact that he is the real spy. And in this episode, you're playing the spy. I love that dynamic between the two of you.
Yeah. He was such a pleasure. And, and obviously Nanab played a huge part, and she had a blast. I mean, everybody who was in it had a blast, because it was a kind of throwback to 60s misogyny, but without unfettered, without any of the political correct stuff that we have to and should put on top of it now.
Yeah.
It was just good fun, and the 60s were particularly glamorous, and originally it was Sean Connery. So this is the Bond, and then there was a big discussion about which Bond are you trying to play, Sid?
Like you got to pick one.
That's Sean Connery to me is James Bond. That's just in my mind.
To me too.
Okay. So we're good. Then I give Roger Moore a close second. I like his performances. It's all about Connery.
Yeah, absolutely. I like Daniel Craig is my second, but Sean Connery is my first. So suave, and so that guy could pull off such a bigot. That character, Fleming's Bond, is such a despicable guy. And you just needed someone. And I think that Roger Moore was just a little. God bless his cotton socks, was just a little too charming that he made fun of the character. I think that Connery took it seriously, and Bashir got a chance to really take it seriously in a pastiche way.
We've got to take a quick break. Speaking of blessing cotton socks, and I do want to say I only want to put my name in that hat too, and say that Sean Connery for me as well. I think he's definitely the guy. But we're going to take a super quick break, and we'll come right back on The Seventh Rule. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
We also have Alexander Siddig, a.k.a. Bashir, Julian Bashir, joining us.
I don't have to read anything. Why have I got my glasses on?
So very quickly, we had a few trivioids that I skipped out on. You missed our trivioids at the beginning. You didn't miss much, let me be honest. Michael Eddington saves the day as usual, as we all know. Mona loves it. Speaks 7 languages. Sorry, there was more to that sentence. Kira is Anastasia. Dax is Honey Bear. O'Brien is Falcon. Kira wants to know who Dax is. Rom tells us neural energy, all kinds of crazy. Oh, this was the good one. Cisco gives us an iconic laugh. Do you remember that? Huh!
Yes. You just reminded me. That's really brilliant.
Yeah, he's good for that. And if you watch them, I mentioned this one time before, but in the show he did a Man Called Hawk, he would do that in that show where he would go from a straight face to a very abbreviated laugh, a short and walk and kind of. And so he's good for that. This is one of his signature things. I've never seen another person do that. But he does that really short laugh and then goes right back to one.
Absolutely, and it's quite the opposite of his of Avery, who will laugh forever.
Right. Absolutely. We were talking before you joined us about the costumes, and one of the things we thought was really well done was how good guys like Garrick. Obviously, you look great in clothes. That's just natural for you. But guys that we don't expect, like Garrick, who has the neck, and Worf with all this headdress stuff. So they looked really good. I just wanted to see if you had any comments about that.
I mean, obviously, specially made. I mean, that is hard to build suits to fit that alien structure that
right.
Had. So that was, Roger Blackman at his finest, really being pushed to come up with black tie tuxedos for a Cardassian. That was pretty epic, pretty wonderful work by Mr. Blackman.
Yeah,
we were also talking about how surprisingly somehow a Cardassian looks good in a tux, and even Worf with his big turtle on his head looks great in this white suit, and I don't understand how that works. I don't know if they just put him in a suit and they were like, wow, they actually look good, or if they tried a bunch of suits to figure out what works well with turtle head. I don't know.
That is the subliminal effect of Star Trek. And come at the end of the day, everybody who loves this show leaves their prejudices at the door. And even Cardassians and Klingons look great in a tux. You know, we don't have any expectations anymore. So never mind what color they all are. They just look. Everyone just looks great when they look great. I think that's one of the subtle effects of the Trek world, and one of the effects on the Trek fan base, and one of the things that fans love about it is that they can actually say without fear of prejudice, "Oh my God, Worf looks horny or hot or whatever adjective they want to use."
Yeah.
You know what? I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, he actually does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this one, I mean, obviously you were the ladies' man in this episode, and you mentioned this earlier about how, you know, Bashir was really bad socially, and we saw that early on in the early seasons of the show. Yeah. You being shot down every chance, every attempt you made. But in this one, you were so debonair, so smooth. I can only imagine that was one of the things you were also looking forward to doing.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, the thing that I love Bashir being striking out as well with everybody. He kind of tried to get near, mainly Jadzia.
Well, then you're in luck.
Yeah, exactly. Partly because that reflected me as a person. I'm the kind of guy who strikes out. You know, I just get it wrong.
I doubt that.
I don't get up to I don't talk to people. I won't dare. And people would have to sort of talk to someone on my behalf when I was that young. So I would just wait for some brave person to come and talk to me. And then I'd be like, oh, I'm in. I've got this. Completely the wrong way around. And so I loved it when Bashir actually was smooth, and got a little bit of my fantasy as well crept in there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because I've had many people come up to me and tell me how you were the most handsome person on the show, and I always told them, why are you telling me this? Stop telling me.
Because they wanted you to tell him.
Well, now you know. That's what my friends and family think. So,
I did a movie years ago with Gerard Butler, and it was in Dublin. And we went to, as Gerard Butler, it was just before he really kicked off. He hadn't done 300, It was early days. And we went to a nightclub after shooting one day. And we went upstairs to a special VIP room because Gerard Butler could get a special VIP room. Anyway, and then he was with a couple of young ladies, and I went out to the lavatory actually, and just outside the lavatory there was this kind of fancy reception area where you could sort of wait, I guess, for the lavatory to become available. And I was just sort of hanging out there, kind of recomposing before I went back into the main event area. And this young person came up to me and said, I'd like to be with Gerard Butler. And I went, well, he's actually with two women right now, actually. And he said, yes, that's fine. Can you get me in after them? That's charm. Whatever Gerard Butler does is how to do. Because that guy was charming.
Serving 2, 3, 4. It's like the DMV. Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I never was lucky to live that kind of a ostentatious life like Gerard Butler, but it certainly would be a great fantasy. But I did like the way they did these subtle inserts in this episode. For example, when Kira's laid out on the bed and the bar turns around, she introduces herself as this Russian KGB agent, Anastasia. But then she goes on and she says, I have some important news for you, and pulls an envelope from behind her, and then pulls another envelope from another place. And I'm like, where are all these envelopes in? And I love the little humor right there. I love the humor of the gun that you made out of a pen or something you pulled out of your
and the heel of my shoe.
Yes. That was a cool little prop. I know you had fun with that when they gave it to you for a little bit, right? Yeah,
absolutely. I could hang around with all those stuff. I had great fun doing all of that. the attention they paid to, remember Bud Pat, who were two people, Bud and Pat, who are props guys, and we called them one name, just Bud Pat. They took such pride with Joe Longo, who was the prop master, in making these things and putting these things together and making sure that we're curating them, looking after them. I really miss that kind of expertise. I haven't really bumped into that. When people do that job for what feels like hundreds of years, and then they come onto your show and they just have everything perfectly set out for you, and they show you. They took you through props how to work props, and you had to have little prop rehearsals because they had to work just so perfectly, and they did, and it was just fantastic. I mean, just bringing it up, I just remember, wow, what pros! I don't think I've worked with such a group of well-oiled pros since.
Wow, really taking pride in their work, huh?
Yeah, really, really.
Now, I wanted to ask a question. We kind of already touched on a little bit how excited you were when you saw this kind of episode you were going to get. But besides you, do you remember anybody in particular being super excited about doing this type of show, whether it's just because they love holodeck stuff or because they love the 60s or they love the outfit, or was there somebody else besides you that was really into it?
I think Nana was really into it. I mean, I think she really enjoyed herself. I mean, she had kind of that lead part, that like dangerous Black Widow territory. And so I think she really enjoyed it. And it touched on elements of her real life because her brother was a CIA guy and a very shady individual who was part of the original 60s experiments of I guess it was the Pentagon, using the early LSD potential and all that stuff. You should ask her about it. It's a stunning story. And so she knew or had been told all about the real life version of the Black Widow that her brother worked with, and they worked together and would go off to foreign countries and on missions and do pretty terrible things, frankly, but nevertheless they'd come on back. And so she got to play a kind of glam version of that. So she really understood what she was doing in that show. I think everybody was really. Sometimes these shows come along and it's just people take it's like a mini vacation for the cast. Mm-hmm. We did a couple of others with Mirror Universe shows, and when we play other characters, and that's like, this is fun. We get to do something else. It was very hard work. It was quite long days, and it was back in the time when we were still doing regularly 18, 16-hour days, and that would, and then you'd turn around and come straight on back. And they had a thing called a forced call at SAG, which they meant that they allowed you to come back kind of illegally after only a very short break, 6 or 7 hours, as long as they paid you $1,000. That was kind of the nominal fee for an actor, by the way. The crew, not so much. And so I remember earning, $6,000 extra that episode just because I came back every single day after only 6 or 7 hours break so I had a forced call every day. It was crazy. That was back in those days. And then it got so dangerous because people would fall asleep at the wheel going home, crew members. And we sadly lost 2 crew members over the course of the season. And thank God they just put a stop to it. That's it. No more. No, everyone gets to work just a normal day. So we've just worked, the 13 hours that we're supposed. That's considered a normal day with a 1-hour lunch break. And TV, the whole studio's mentality changed about how hard you could press people. I don't remember Cirroc. I mean, you wouldn't. Obviously, you were very well cared for because as a minor, they wouldn't dream of. There are strict laws about how you treat youngsters. Right. But there was one day we did on the pilot, an emissary that was 22 hours long. 22 hours is crazy talk. I think it was called Triple Golden Time by Union Rules. Everybody in the crew loved it because they got so much overtime.
Yeah.
Just like, how do we do? They got a week's wages in one night.
Right. Right.
Cirroc, do you remember 22 hours with your fishing pole in that episode?
No, no, I didn't do any of the fishing pole work for that long. But I do remember the long hours and what Sid's saying is the quick turnaround. So, we had people that lived an hour or so away. So if you lived in Palmdale or one of these farther places, that means after you wrap, you have to get in your car, drive an hour, and get to sleep, and then have another turnaround 6 hours later. You have to be back at work. So there's really no time for sleep or rest or anything.
It ends up being very dangerous.
Yeah. It is dangerous, yeah. But how was your holidays, and how is the Siddig City going?
It's been lovely, thank you. My holidays were great. We had a really terrific beef Wellington and lovely vegetables and whatnot. And Shauna, my wife's mother, came over, and her sister, who, not Shauna's sister, but Shauna's aunt, her mom's sister, who is absolutely adorable, but no one seems to trust her regarding COVID. So they actually put her in the hallway to eat. Well, we ate in the dining room. And I was like, hey, how you doing? Okay? Baby, you okay? Well, just wait. Just wait. That's funny. And so she seemed fine with it.
Did she have like a little TV tray, or is that?
We set up a nice little table for her, but she just was like 16 feet away in another room.
So, yeah, it was like a rope to pull the dishes back. Like, I got it. No.
And Siddig City's going really well. I mean, it's been, we have really lovely guys there who come and hang out, and we all kind of feel like we know each other now, and I think we probably do. We have a few new people, which is always fun, and it's been tremendous. And I think it's been really helpful, just like this, to make people feel they're kind of in contact with something that has some continuity, and like this podcast. I mean, and gives them comfort. It's like, oh, this is fresh, but it's something I understand, and it's still here, and it's bedrock, and I get the chance to meet some of the people and definitely talk to, both of you guys, Ryan and Cirroc, and make sure that I'm still in one piece every day. Remind myself that I'm still I can have a good time. Remind myself that life hasn't completely changed. Right. So we're plugging along, and everybody seems in good spirits.
No, I'm glad you mentioned the Siddig City, Cirroc, because Sid, I don't know if you see it, but out on social media, people keep talking about it. Keeps getting tweeted around and retweeted, and even behind closed doors through messages, people are saying, "Oh, it's so great. Sid is he's so nice, and he's so eloquent with people." And like they say that you really take the time to get to know people. It's not like speed dating. It's like quality time between two people, and then quality time between somebody else. And that really gives people a chance to really sink their teeth into it. Because a lot of times interactions with celebrities such as yourself are short, and people think, I don't even remember what I said to him or her. I said some things and it was great, and now it's over. But it's just like a heart to heart. It's two people connecting for minutes at a time, and people seem to really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I mean, I'm getting to know them, and goodness knows I've got to know hundreds of people now. So it's been a really worthwhile pursuit, and we go deep. Yeah, we talk about everything: how their family is, who they are, what their parents did, what their parents do, what their dreams are after COVID. It's amazing what wonderful people.
The other thing I think that you have done a really great job of is bringing stories to life through your table readings of these different stories. And I think it's so necessary. And I also think it's just a wonderful job that you're doing with Matt. And
you, sir. you're the one who's helping out. You're the one who's making it all work. You're the lead guy in the whole thing.
I'm just one spoke in the wheel, but
Yeah.
I'm honored to be a part of it. And I think you're doing some really great work. And I think it's just great to see it come to life and see these, just to have stories that are well thought out. Would you consider doing a show, a version of our Man Bashir, maybe a part 2 in the Sid City?
That'd be fun, wouldn't it? I mean,
I think so.
Yeah, the thing is, there are so many. I mean, our group, and I'm sure the people, a lot of the guys who enjoy this podcast, are super talented, and they write, and they come up with their own fiction, and it could be Star Trek inspired or some other thing, and I read some of these things, and I was like, this is just terrific. We are not changing we don't change a word, do we? We just read what they've written. We don't edit it. We don't go, hey, Bashir wouldn't say it like this. And they've done. There are dozens of these stories, so it's actually great fun to just go, hey, you know what? This isn't wasted. Watch this. We're gonna show you this with some of the guys that actually did this stuff back in the 90s, and it's been a lot of fun. And I think a lot of people really enjoyed the fact that they get to see these characters together again, and that's kind of fun. I hope other people do it with other things, because I think especially in this time of COVID, we're just what are we doing? Nothing. We're dreaming of working, but we're not working. At least I'm not. And I think we can just dip into have competitions, write a story, we'll read it. Do it's just something. Express yourself,
right?
And we'll help. That's kind of what it was all inspired by that. Remember back in the day when Milan was really hit hard by Italy. Milan in Italy was really hit hard by COVID. And it was like the first story of massive destruction and carnage and people really, dying in vast numbers. And everybody was locked away in their apartments. And the Italians don't do things lightly. They didn't let people out, not even to walk their dog for a few days there. Mm-hmm. And what the Italians did was they got on the roof of their buildings, and the ones who could play instruments played instruments, and the ones who could sing sung. And so Milan rung with opera as people communicated to each other. And I just thought that was so beautiful an image of these people being out of work but still able to give what they do professionally for free to everybody. So that kind of inspired that.
Absolutely. And then also because we're all suffering from this new social distance mandates, that it's important that we still have social interaction, even if we can do it virtually, even if we can do it through other means. But it does massage a place in you that needs to constantly have attention. We need each other. We're on this planet together. We're suffering or enjoying together. So, being isolated is actually one of the great forms of punishment when you're in jail. That's how they
solitary confinement. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
I'm
that's
proud
how
to say I need people.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking when you're talking about how in Milan and other places in Italy they would sing to each other, they would play instruments. It's that human interaction that they're missing, that we're all missing, and a lot of people, they take it for granted until they don't have it, and then they start going like, I don't care what it is. I want to talk to people. I want to be a part of something. I want to work with somebody. I want to hear somebody's voice. And whether it's a podcast or a TV show, or it's being on the streets and singing next to a stranger, singing next to in the apartment next door that you've been living in for 12 years and never met this person, but it takes something like this for you to be like, thank God he plays the tuba, or something.
There was that video not long ago, maybe a month or two ago, of this guy, this black guy who was on a university campus, and he just started singing, and it was a music university, and he wasn't a student there, but he just had this beautiful voice, this operatic voice, and this woman who was a young student who was studying opera just sung with him, and as a duet, this white young girl. And it went obviously viral because it was like a show of spontaneity and love between two races, etc., etc. But my God, how important it is for us to communicate. And if we can do it through art or through something, remember your mom telling you when you were growing up, I really prefer when you give me presents that you've made to presents that you buy. And we should not let the idea that we can make things even as adults for each other all the time, if it's a song or a verse, or we just got to keep doing that stuff. And what you're doing right now is a thing made is so much more beautiful than a thing bought.
Very quickly, that reminds me of an old African proverb I heard a long time ago. The short and skinny of it is that this kid's grandmother was going to turn, 80 years old or 100 years old or some milestone thing. So he travels, he walks for 3 days, he scoops up some sand, he walks for 3 days back just in time for her birthday. He says, here you go, grandmother, here's the sand from the Sahara Desert. He said, well, why did you do that? We have sand here. And he said, well, the journey was part of the gift.
That's beautiful.
Love that one.
Beautiful. That's absolutely true. We should make a lot of effort for each other. Maybe COVID will teach us that.
Mm-hmm. I think it is. I just keep running back in this scene in my head from this episode. I'm sorry to get back on the episode, guys.
That's why we're here.
Yeah,
I love this episode. And one of the things that I really love that I think is really special about Deep Space Nine, because they are one of the best, if not the best, out of the Star Trek to do this, which is being so clever in their writing. And this is the thing that I thought was clever in this episode. Garrick tells you, I'm the real spy. I've survived because I learned how to quit when I was ahead, and that's why I'm alive, and none of my other contemporaries are not. You listen to that.
right.
Completely object to that idea, but yet use the same exact line to defend yourself at the end. And I love that. That is really clever writing to me.
It is.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that.
What great writing! How lucky we were. Yeah. How lucky.
Yeah.
Ronald D. Moore
Ronald
did the teleplay for that.
One of the MVPs of the writing room. Really amazing. Really great. And look what he went on to do. A couple of things.
You might have heard of him. Yeah.
We do just have a couple minutes left. I'm sure we'll cover this episode more on our free for all after this. But Sid, would you like to give us just a button on this episode? Any final thoughts or fond memories of it?
It was incredibly hard work, but my favorite kind of art, if there's a way of, if I would say, use such a highfalutin word, is generous art. That's usually my qualification for something I watch or do or go and see. If I look at a wall and see a canvas and I feel that is a generous painting, that everything that person knows up to that time is on that canvas, same as in that movie, and that's one of the reasons why I love some Wes Anderson stuff, and a lot of they're just full of generosity, lots of Where's Waldo going on in every frame. And I thought that the episode was extremely generous. It was we threw the kitchen sink into that show. Everybody put their heart in it, right from Butterpat to Nana and to everybody else. They all put everything they knew into that show. So it's an act of generosity, and I think that's one of the things that makes me happiest and most satisfied about it.
Yes. I love the moment where Worf asks you for £5 million, and you reach into your wallet and you pull out one like this, and you lay it down. You're like, there it is.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I love the moment. I know I'm not asking you a question, and I'm just making a comment, but
that's good.
These are just things that I've just seen the episode for the first time. I know I'm late, a little bit late, but I was so delighted by it, and it showed me a side of your character that I think is closer to who you are or how I envision you are. So I actually think of you, Sid, as a James Bond kind of smooth operator. So
Thank
I love to see this episode.
Thank you. I'm so not.
To me, you are. So thank you for giving us this gift.
I'll take it, Cirroc.
This is great.
Well, we do have to run, but this is a great episode. It's in a long line of great Stuck in a Holodeck episodes, and people letting their imaginations go wild. They're always so much fun. It's got to be so much fun for the people acting in these, because they can play something else for a minute, and it does feel like playing. It feels like you get to play for a minute, even if the hours are crazy long. But Sid, thank you so much for joining us. Really cool. So much fun having you. We love having you always.
Thank you, Ryan. I'll come back anytime. Thanks. I'm a big fan.
Great.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
The rest of the holiday, I hope it ends for a good big bang with you, and also that everyone gets really speedy, healthy recovery for whatever ailments they're going, including our guy.
Yeah. Let's hope it's a good one. Let's hope the next one.
Oh, it's going to be a great one.
Yeah.
I hope. Anyway, thank you so much.